Here it is right here, coming up right here. So these are altered chords. This is what we call a sharp 5, sharp 9 chord. And this is a 3 chord in the key E flat. So going from the 3 to the 6. So I'll do it again. Glory to glory to. Here it is right here. So the first example, I went from the 3 to the 6. But this chord I use a minor chord. But the second time around I did major. Okay, so. Hey, welcome to another episode of Chord Crush Thursdays, where every week we get into a new chord or chord progression that hopefully will help you to take your playing to another level in your chord vocabulary. And what we're gonna do is pick up from where we left off. We actually took a break. We took a week off because when we were trying to record, we had some construction going on around here. It was too loud. But we're back. This is episode 17. Congratulations on the winner who won on episode 16. We pick a random winner to win 90 days in the Gospel Music Training Center, one of the best places that you can go to learn how to play gospel music at gospelmusictraining.com. So every week we do this, so stick to the end of the video to see if you won. But how you enter is to get in the comment section below, and we're gonna be picking a winner off of the comments from last week's video. So that's how you get in. Also, if you want to download a free PDF with all the chords from this particular episode and some of the past ones too as well, make sure you text us at the number on the side. Text CRUSH to this number on the screen, and it's also in the description below. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's jump into this thing. Here we go. So this is the key of E flat major in the number system. That's the key that we're going to be in. So we got E flat is the 1, F is the 2, G is the 3, A flat is our 4, B flat is the 5, C is the 6, D is the 7, and then we're back at the 1, E flat. Okay, so that's the number system scale for the key of E flat. So what we're gonna do in this video, we're gonna talk about what we call altered chords. I'm gonna show you a very quick and easy way to find an altered chord using shortcuts. And then also there's some movements and things that you can create similar to what we did on episode 16. So if you haven't got a chance to check that out, you gotta see it. We covered a lot of stuff that definitely is gonna add some flavor and movements to some of the things that you might already know. And it's really simple stuff, simple 2-note movements, but we're gonna do some of the same types of things here, but different. So it's gonna be some more to add to your playing, but kind of using stuff that I already showed you. So I took the opportunity to teach that, and it's gonna connect to this in a different type of way. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video. You're not gonna regret it. And if you saw last week's video, drop it in the comments, let me know. Love y'all, thanks for the support. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna still be in the key of E flat major, like I said. We already broke down the number system and scale. So what we're gonna focus in on is specifically where altered chords happen within a particular situation. So altered chords happen most of the time when you're gonna go to either a major chord or a minor chord. When it's major, it kind of has a different jazzier sound. When it's minor, that's more typical how they're used, but they can go either way. So an example where, you know, some altered chords might happen is a song like, it's called Glory to Your Name. Some of y'all might have heard of this. And I want to point out when the altered chord comes up. So it's like this. Glory to your name. I'm not gonna sing, I'm gonna point it out though. Here it is right here, coming up right here. So these are altered chords. This is what we call a sharp 5, sharp 9 chord. And this is a 3 chord in the key E flat. So going from the 3 to the 6. So I'll do it again. Glory to your name. Glory to your name. Here it is right here. So the first example, I went from the 3 to the 6. But this chord I use a minor chord. But the second time around I did it, I did major. Okay, so that's just an example for your ear to catch on to what's going on. So what's a quick way to find an altered chord? Well, first you got to understand that altered chords are dominant. And I'll just show you a quick way. So in any key on any bass note, I would start with, and this is a shortcut I created. I would start with understanding what the major chord is. So if you first understand what the major chord is, the next step would be to take the root note, drop it down a whole step, okay? So we're gonna focus on the outside notes of the chord. So the first note on the outside, we got the middle note and then the 2 outside notes, right? We got B in the middle, G and D on the outside. So the G is one of the outside notes. The first note, you drop it down a whole step, boom. So that's gonna give you the dominant. So we already turned this chord into dominant. We went from major, now we're dominant, simply by dropping the root note down a whole step. And that's what we call, for G, that's what we call the flat 7. So now instead of a G major, now we got a G7 chord, which is a G dominant 7 chord. Now if you don't know what that is, it's okay, I'm telling you. But we got other videos that you can watch. And also, if you haven't checked out the Gospel Music Training Center, we go deep. We go from beginners all the way to advanced. We have a full course where you can take that as tests, as quiz, to make sure you understand the basics and the foundations of gospel music. So for those of you who are beginners, that's for you who want a full, pretty much college curriculum on theory and all that stuff, but fun, check out the Gospel Music Training Center. GospelMusicTraining.com. All right, so I showed you how to take this G major chord, turn it, now it's a G7 chord. So now the alterations happen here, where you would sharp what we call the 5. So the 5 is the D. Okay, if you know the G major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now the last note of this major chord, if we sharp that, now this is what we have. So we went from a G major chord to a G7 with a sharp 5. And this G7 sharp 5 is a chord that can take us to the 6th chord, minor. So we're in the key of E flat major though, right? But we just did a 3-6 chord progression, a 3 to the 6, and I used a G7 with a sharp 5 chord. Now we can also do something called add the sharp 9 to the chord. And that's easy too as well. So if you look at this, G major chord, we already dropped the lowest note to F, and we raised the D to D sharp, right? Now, the other note that you can add is this. This is a whole step below the middle note. So if you add the tone that's a whole step below the middle note, now we just created more tension. And now this is a G7 with a sharp 5. This is the 7, the dominant 7. And this is the sharp 9. So I just showed you what we call the sharp 9, which technically this would be called A sharp, right? A sharp, which would be B flat or A sharp right there, right? And that's called the sharp 9 because when you think about the scale for any root note, the 2 of the scale, in this case we're looking at the root note of G, and the G major scale, the 2 is the same thing as the 9. So you should know that when it comes down to chord extensions. So this would be called a G7 with a sharp 5 and a sharp 9, okay? But I showed you a quick way to do it. So if you don't want to go the theory route, which you should understand, but for those of y'all who just want to find a quick way, find the major chord first. Step 1, that's step 1. Step 2, take the first note, drop it down a whole step. Take the outside note, raise it up a half step. So drop whole step down, half step up, half step down in the middle. And add that tone, that's a half step, or right next to the middle note. So we quickly made a sharp 5, sharp 9 chord like that. With the sharp 9 and sharp 5, and it's dominant because of the F, right? Because we dropped that root note down a whole step. Instantly dominant just from doing that, a dominant chord. And then raising a 5, sharp 5, and then adding the A sharp or the B flat, that's the sharp 9. So this is what we call a G7, a sharp 5, sharp 9. Now, we can take this a step further by understanding the altered scale. So if you understand the altered scale for G, you're going to be able to alter this chord even more. And that's why it's important for you to understand that, because there's a lot of alterations in the altered scale, right? But the reason why I'm teaching you this is because when you know something that we call the melodic minor scale, which I showed you on episode 16, we went in the same key, and that's why I'm actually doing this video, because I went over that scale so much in depth that it can kind of help you to understand. If you watch that video, I would check it out if you haven't. But we went over the melodic minor scale for A flat, and I said, not the key of A flat, but the tone A flat. So in the key of E flat major, I said, A flat is the fourth tone of the E flat major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I said, when understanding that, a lot of movements come into play when you use what we call the A flat minor 6. Some people look at it as a different chord, and I understand why, but I created this concept to make it easy for you to understand. And I'm not gonna go deep into the concept, but in a nutshell, I showed you an A flat minor 6 chord on the last video, which was this, A flat B, E flat F. And I told you to learn the different inversions of the chord, right? And I showed you with just the A flat, I showed you that you can do a lot of movements. Sorry about that. So with that being said, it's very important to understand the scale, because you can take that and create different things. So let's say you want to find an A flat melodic minor scale. Well, if you compare the A flat melodic minor scale to the A flat major scale, it's only a difference in one note. So pretty much you can take the major scale and change one note of that major scale, and now you have a melodic minor scale. So if we were to do this to A flat major, what note do we have to change to make this minor? The 3. That's all you got to change. So if we take the third tone of the scale, which is C, that's the third tone, and we flat the 3, this is technically called C flat because we flatted the 3, but we're going to say B. But now this is quickly changed into an A flat melodic minor scale. Now, if we even take this a step further, we could take these same notes of this scale and start from a different starting point, and now we have a totally different scale. So if we start on G instead of A flat, and then we go from G to G using all those same notes, this is the G altered scale. It's a G dominant 7 altered scale. It's a 7 or a dominant altered scale. But everybody just says altered scale. You don't gotta say all that extra stuff. But pretty much, this is the altered scale, and it's the same thing as the melodic minor scale. So you can look at this two ways. You can say, okay, if I know this particular melodic minor scale, I know the melodic minor scale is the same as a different altered scale. What is that altered scale? It's only a half step below. So if you know the A flat melodic minor scale, you know the G altered scale. It's a half step below. Now, if you was thinking the other way around and say, okay, I want to learn this, what is the G altered scale? Then you say, okay, what's a half step up? It's A flat. Well, the G altered scale, if I find out the A flat melodic minor scale and just start from that point, all I gotta do is do that first. So you can say, okay, let me find this. So start with, let me find this G altered scale. And I know this is talking in circles, but I want you to really understand it. So find the A flat melodic minor scale. I already told you first, look at the major scale, flat the third. Boom, it's that easy. And then just start from the tone that's a half step below the first note. And now you got the altered scale, okay? So if I was to go back and start with the shortcut that I showed you and show you how you can use the scale that I just introduced you to create even more alterations, this is gonna make more sense to you. So I showed you the shortcut way, like start with the major chord, drop the first note down a whole step, boom. Now we already have a dominant 7 chord, which is the foundation of it being a dominant altered chord. The only thing we haven't did is alter it. So we just turned this G major chord into a G dominant chord or G dominant 7, but we haven't altered it yet. So in order to really make this an alternate, let's start by sharpening the 5, okay? So now we have a G7 with a sharp 5. But what are the other notes of this scale? Well, I have the scale on the screen. What else can we add? We can add a B flat or A sharp. We can add that, or we can put this A sharp up here if we want to. So now the chord sounds like that. We can actually, instead of playing this A sharp up top, we can play G sharp. So it's pretty much, it's up to you as far as which one you want to use, but if you actually think about some of the chords that you might already play, this probably will help make more sense to you, because you can literally, you can almost play every note of the altered scale over its root bass note, and it sounds good going to a minor chord or a major chord. But it's too much, you know, it ain't something I would do all the time, but if you wanted to play like a real crazy chord, like, what's that? You can play the whole scale. You can play the whole scale over a chord, over the bass, over its root note. So if I wanted to play almost every note of the altered scale over G, it'd sound like this. So how would I use that? That's going to a minor chord. Let's go major. So it's not something that you would use in every case, but you know, the altered scale is what's used to come up with some of these chords, like the sharp 5, sharp 9, or the sharp 5, flat 9, some of these chords that you will hear a lot of times. So now I'm gonna show you some of my favorite altered chords that I like to use. So one of them would be this, the one I already showed you, which is the F, A sharp, B, and D sharp. And this is used to go to a minor chord. So if you ever wanna know, okay, what altered chord leads to what place? Because remember, there has to be tension and then resolution. The tension is gonna come from this altered chord, but it has to be released somewhere else to either a minor chord or a major chord. So if you wanna know what that is, if you look at the altered chord or the root note on the circular fifth chart, I got it on the screen right here. So this is the circular fifth chart on the screen. Now, if you look counterclockwise, that's the direction that music moves naturally. So if you look at G, what does G lead to going counterclockwise, going the opposite way? What does G lead to? G leads you to C, right? So that's where you would go. That's called a circular chord progression. So if you go from G to, you'll go to C. If you were to go to F, it'll lead you to B flat. So whatever altered chord you have, that root note, if you look counterclockwise, that's where it's gonna take you. That's the bass note it's gonna take you. So now some of my favorite altered voicings to use, I'm gonna show you right now. So I already showed you the F, the A sharp, B, and D sharp, right? Well, there's another way I like to voice this chord too as well. So this is a G7 with a sharp 5 and a sharp 9, right? So now, if I take this B and put it in the left hand, it sounds like this, okay? And this is another voicing that would take us to the 6. This is a 3 to the 6 chord progression, okay? And sometimes I like to walk up to that third of G in my left hand. So when I say third, I'm referencing, you know, the scale of this root note. So the third of G is B. So, okay, that's what we call a ditone. But we're not gonna get into that. Now you can also take that chord and play it like this. It's the same chord, but now it's more open sounding. And that could still take you to the 6th chord with a minor chord. So this voicing that I'm showing on the 6, this is a C minor 11. So the key thing is that, you know, now once you start to get into these more advanced chords, you have to start to understand how to voice chords. And we're gonna get into more of that within this Chord Crush series. I don't wanna just get into fancy movements, but I want you to understand things like this, because it's gonna help you to understand other things that we're gonna build on top of. Like episode 18, we're gonna get into a lot of movements that you could do, you know, using the altered scale and going to some of these chords. But I wanted to lay the foundation first. I believe in showing you a lot of fancy stuff, but I want you to really understand what's going on. All right, so this is another voicing that you could use. We got G and F in the left hand, B, D sharp, F, and A sharp in the right, okay? That'll take you there. Now you can do other alterations of this dominant 7. This is another one. We got F, G sharp, B, and D sharp, okay? can also play this. So basically what I'm showing you is variations of how to go to the 3 to the 6 using altered chords on the 3 and then a minor chord on the 6. So it's really all about the melody that you want to have on top. That's going to determine how you voice the chord. But all of these notes, what's common in all of these is that they have the 3rd and flat 7th in them. Once the 3rd and flat 7th is in the chord, it's just keeping a dominant sound. Everything else is an alteration to that. So if we play F and B, you can add anything else from the altered scale. You can add that as the top note. You can add that, but you probably need some more meat, so you can add another note. You can add this, you can add this, you can add this. So it's like all up to how you want to voice the chord. But the idea is that these are altered chords, and this gives you that altered sound, but I kind of wanted you to get a taste of understanding what this sound is and where it comes from. All right, so we're gonna stop right here. I don't want the video to be too long. We're gonna actually continue on the next video where we're gonna get into some nice things that you could do. I wanted to lay the foundation of, having a basic understanding of what the altered scale is and kind of give you an idea of what altered chords are and how they're used. But another thing I didn't really get into is how you can go to major chords with the altered scale and altered chords too as well. So there's a lot of room for growth when it comes down to this subject. So we're gonna pick it up on the next video. We're gonna get into more and more fancy things, but this is a series around the altered scale at this point now. And we're gonna keep this thing going. So make sure you watch the previous videos because you're gonna learn some things that's gonna connect to this, what I'm showing you now, and it's just gonna continue to grow. Your vocabulary is gonna grow. And I appreciate y'all. So we're gonna get into the winner now from last week's or the last episode's comment section to win 90 days for free in the Gospel Music Training Center. Let's do it, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We got a random comment picker right here, so we're gonna grab a URL from the last video that we did, which was actually episode 17. I don't know why I thought it was episode 16. But all right, we're gonna copy this, the link, come over here and paste it. Over here, we're gonna filter out any duplicate users. Let's gather the comments. All right, it's taking a long time. All right, so we got 54 comments on the last video, and we're gonna pick a random winner. Here we go, let's get it started. Wow, congratulations, Heron Grant. Congratulations, you won 90 days in the Gospel Music Training Center for free. You said those 2 note runs over the minor 6 is used in the intro to Alabaster Box. Nice lesson, very insightful. Thanks for the lesson. Man, thank you for that great comment. Congratulations on your 90 days. Make sure you email us at help@hearandplay.com. That's help@hearandplay.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Congratulations once again. God bless y'all. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. See you on the next one.